should.
No.
Well, here we are, baby, back in action.
Yes, I hope I remember how to do this. It's been a while.
It's like riding a bike.
Speaking of riding a bike.
Falling off a log. Oh, we have. Okay, so welcome back to the Roadcast, everybody.
Welcome back.
We appreciate everybody reaching out to us on our little break, saying you missed it. All the 2 people who listen.
Yeah,
we appreciate y'all.
Thank the pair of you.
Yes, to the both of you, we thank you. But we're back and ready to kick off the fall with a pre-fall. Man, I wish it was fall.
Can you let's just think about that.
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing? We probably shouldn't get into that, but when you say I can't wait for fall, what do you think about?
Just the smell of there's a different smell on the pavement when I go walking. It's not my melted shoes and my melted body. But yeah, it's I'm just looking forward to that cool weather. And it's such a weird feeling when you go outside now. It's just crazy. I mean, it's like you can hardly breathe. And it's also, just sad. People they're not outside. No one's moving.
It's like the apocalypse. But also, what about this?
Speaking of apocalypse.
No, what about this first?
Okay.
Dun, 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 dun,
yes.
Dun, dun.
Football.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yes. Thank you that I have a football wife. But I'm looking forward to all that. But we've had so much during our time off, just so much life. Lots of life. I wouldn't say, I was going to say transition, but it's not really transition or transition, just life happening and growth and signs of life, signs of growth, signs of grandkids growing up.
Signs of death.
Loss of friends and loved ones and fur babies and friends. Fathers and lots. We officiated a couple of funerals during the time off, and been doing a lot of weddings though. A lot of premarital with couples. Ruru started school today. Yep.
Carson, our son, is moved out to a new place in Denton. Amazing.
So we are
townhome.
We're truly empty nesters.
I didn't realize that till you started naming all that.
We're empty nesting. And then the loss of Raski.
Yeah.
And you wrote about that. There's just so much. And you, your writing, babe, people love it. The stuff you post, and you were telling me you hadn't been inspired and you don't like to just post. I mean, you post a lot as far as
just
what we're doing and keeping everybody. One of our donors and supporters of Long Haul Marriage reached out and said, great newsletter this last month. And I really appreciated that. And that was, again, well done on that newsletter. Shout out to you and Janie, or Hey, or what is it we're doing?
Yeah, Hey to Janie Purvis.
To Janie Purvis.
I kind of like Hey still. But yeah, so I come up with the content and Janie makes it look like we know something.
It looks great.
Janie puts it together in Canva or whatever she does. She's like a magician. So, man, we really, really appreciate you, Janie, just making it look so great every month for us.
Yeah. There's so many people who are celebrating things, and then so many people that are just struggling right now. And our hearts, you say it all the time. We are no strangers to walking through struggle in our own marriage, and we're obviously no strangers to grief. And we just try to share and live out loud and share that with other couples, and just be real, be very vulnerable and transparent with our own stuff. And that's, I think that's where people get help. But your latest post on the loss of Raski, I watched. I don't know why, but I'm still kind of surprised at how hard that hits you. And we all grieve in different ways. We know that we all, go through it differently. But man, to watch you, lose Jesse a couple of years ago, our fur baby, and then to watch you grieve the loss of Rascal, who was Chan and Ryan's dog that we ended up keeping once they started having kids. And so he's been our dog for like 14 years,
ours for about 7, and or 8, and theirs for
or 10 or 11, but really 14.
Yeah, because even when they had him, they would come over a lot. So we've known him for that long, but he's
Right.
actually lived with us for quite a few years.
So how are you feeling? Just
Today I'm feeling better.
Yeah.
I'm feeling a little lighter, but for days felt a real heaviness and sadness. And so whenever I feel, a lot of emotions kind of bubbling up, a lot of thoughts around those emotions, it really helps me to process through writing it. And then some people are okay, like I'm just going to journal my thoughts. I like to process, and then I like to put it out there, because I do feel like, my heart is to relate to people, is to help people. And so I really do think when something resonates with me, like very strongly, like I think I am not the only one. And if I felt like inspired in these thoughts, like now I couldn't even go back and tell you what I wrote. Like I kind of can, I remember what I wrote about, but literally when I sat down and started writing that stuff, it was days of me just kind of taking my phone and opening up the notes app and I'd have a random thought and just voice text it into my notes app. And then when I sat down and felt like, I'm ready to kind of put it all together, I just felt like I think I'm not the only one who struggles in their grief or trying to put some of their feelings into words. Yeah. So maybe this would connect with some people and help them kind of figure out and almost give them permission. Like,
and I was, yes. And I was just saying how you do put words to what so many of us are feeling, and the way you just like nail it. Like it just seems like, yeah, I've thought that. Yes, I felt that. And the way you say it is just perfect. And you do it it's like you do it justice. And what's interesting is so many of us their inspiration or our inspiration may come from the highlight reels or when times are good. And like when things suck or when we are feeling heavy, maybe we wouldn't write. That's when we'd isolate or just go underground and just wait to feel up to it again. And where you drew inspiration from feeling that heaviness and thinking, I want to share this because it's going to connect. Again, we always say we're all hanging by a thread. We're all fighting a tough battle. Even if we have the ups, there are the downs. We have the, obviously the peaks, but we got the valleys. Man, everything sounds so cliche. But when we do, we're carrying both at the same time. And that's what we try to help people do because that's what life is. You're going to be carrying all the wins and the L's at the same time. Yeah. And to be able to, but the way that you found the strength to like articulate those really, the deep grief you were feeling and put words to it. And I think it just inspired and helped a lot of people. So if you didn't see Jamie's latest post, like on Facebook or Instagram, go check it out because I think it was
Substack.
Really good.
I put it on.
And yeah,
I did my first Substack.
Oh, okay. Good for you. You need to. And wherever you read it. But what's interesting is someone said, usually I just scroll by long posts, like again, and that's a lot of it. It's like, man, that's long. And
what's she
and
talking
sometimes
about?
Just settling in. Man, I read a long post on Substack the other day, and I thought I'm just going to do this because the title grabbed me. The first few really sentences, but then the first paragraph, I thought, man, this dude's a really good writer, and it was talking about beauty, and ended up sending it really to you good. And Chandler because of just what it unlocked in me, just knowing kind of my heart for you two and the beauty that you both embody that goes far beyond how our culture defines beauty and how they literally, it's the antithesis sometimes of true beauty. We miss it. We see beauty as, skin deep and the external and some object to consume if it's a woman or whatever, instead of true beauty that in this case, the guy was saying it makes him want to be a better man. Like I want to live up to not, hey, so you can, to win her love, but it's like you inspire me to be the best version of myself because of the really beauty that you embody, which is, I think, a strong thing that a woman can do for a man. In marriage. And so, but yeah, it was cool to see kind of the Proverbs 31 woman and then some, if you will. It was good. But to read, to sit down and allow your attention span that is their algorithm knows that we're, used to 3 to 5 seconds. If it's going to, maybe the top 1-2 seconds, it's going to grab you or not, and you're going to scroll. But then you kind of get restless if you're into something and you see, oh my gosh, look at it, it's long. Man, settle in, go for it. But yeah, your writing, it was really, really good.
Thank you.
So we've had a lot going on, and kind of in the last few months, people are traveling, they take off sometimes, and they're on vacation. The kids are home, but now it's just everybody's thinking fall, at least for us, the fall season of back to school. And so people get into kind of the grind. Some people are looking forward to that, the season change. Some people are looking forward to getting back into a routine. Some people are going to miss, and I think, or maybe all of the above. We're going to miss summer and seeing those kids, but now they're back in school. We can kind of have some sense of, quote, normalcy, whatever that means. But there's also this scary world we're living in, and this uncertainty. And again, depending on what you don't have to be into politics at all, just to still feel the effects of things are tough right now. I mean, just they're tough. There's a lot of uncertainty with a lot of different things, and mostly because of what we all consume on social media, what we're seeing. You don't have to be, watching TV and the news, quote unquote, anymore. A lot of people have lost trust in, legacy media, if you will, or the mainstream media, but we all have social media. And so we've seen that affecting a lot of the couples. And we've had a lot of conversation with young folks, whether they're in relationship or not. Just a lot of the uncertainty that's going on and some of the hopelessness. And one of the things, when you said earlier, you said apocalypse or something like that. It's interesting you brought up that word because I got into a discussion with my boys. We'd all seen stuff about AI, right? In the latest, so a lot of the podcasts are interviewing these dudes that are either the head of the companies from OpenAI to Anthropic, or the people who have left the companies that are in the race to develop super intelligence or AGI, artificial, general intelligence, and they're all about now trying to mitigate the risk or having us slow down or like, hey, we gotta make sure. I mean, the cat's already out of the bag, the horse has left the barn, but can we slow down and put in the safety and the transparency that is needed around that? And so when you hear a lot of these people talk about stuff that most of us don't know, I mean, most of us, we've heard of, LLMs, and we know about Chat GPT and how cool it is. We all consult Chat. It's smarter than we could ever be, and it knows, and it's got the access, and it's instantaneous. I helped it. I actually, anyway, so we query Chat all the time.
Yes.
But most of us know that, and a lot of us have heard that, it's going to be displacing jobs, and it already in some industries have displaced up to, 30 to 40% of some jobs in some industries. And then it's like, wow, will any of us have a job? Is it going to replace everything? And so there's the doomsday people saying, man, this thing's going to get out of control and we're all going extinct. And there's the people who are hopeful saying, man, we're going to be able to, it's going to replace so much of the, quote, workforce. We'll be able to just choose what we want to do, be creative with our lives. And so there's, and who knows? We cannot see over the event horizon. So when I was thinking about this, and we had, again, good conversation with my boys, and depending on which podcasts you've listened to or which, reel you've seen or whatever, you may fall on the doomsday side, the hopeless, or you may fall kind of on the hopeful side. But there was a documentary that I saw, and it was AI was in the title, and that caught my attention. But it was called, or there was in the title is Apocalyptimist, and the filmmaker, when the one of the guys that worked for tech used that term, he said, I'm an apocalyptimist. He said, man, I like that, because this guy who's making the film, he's been interested in it for a while, and he wanted to interview people on both sides, right, if you will, of that, is it scary and doom, or is it good news? And is it a little of both? And do we know? But the guy said, I'm choosing to be an optimist, a apocalypse optimist. And he said he liked that because he and his wife are pregnant and they're going to have their first kid and going to be growing up in this world and what's going on. And so I started thinking about belief versus hope. Okay. And so I wanted to get your thoughts on this. And you're looking at me like, what the heck? Where are we going?
No, I'm
not.
But
I mean, because I thought this so applies to marriage and relationships. And again, life, long haul life, it just applies to everything. So what's interesting is a lot of, and again, if you go into the religious or theology, kind of context, you can think that you choose to believe something. Like, why don't you believe? We try to, quote, make believers. Are they a believer? Are you a believer? I believe, do you believe in God? Do you believe the Bible is the inspired word of God? Like, we choose to believe something. But most of the time, we were taught something, and we grew up in a home that taught us. And then at some point, you either continue to believe the things that you were taught because your parents believed them, or you may think, well, no, I started developing my own beliefs and I critically thought for myself. And if you're a critical thinker, you want to think for yourself. And then, like, what do I believe? And but many people would say, if you think about it, and again, I think philosophers and psychologists and theologians, it's the deep questions. Do you truly choose your beliefs, or do you just discover what you truly believe, like deep down? And when I say deep down, I think many people are confronted with things that, like, man, those questions and the doubts about things in life. Do I really believe that anymore? And don't just think, again, in the religious context.
Yeah.
Just think about everything that you've ever believed. Do you believe it because you've always believed it? Do you believe it because you were taught to believe it? And some would say, I can't just force myself to believe something that I know deep down I just don't believe. And so that made me think a lot. It's now, if you have evidence and things look good, they don't look bleak. If you think I have evidence, or like things are proving out, or my experience, it makes it a lot easier to believe something. But I think sometimes when I use the term discover what we believe, sometimes if you're starting to question something that you've always held dear, maybe you don't even want to be honest with yourself because of the social equity it could cost, or some troubling thing deep down that's like, man, it's going to cost me. Like the truth hurts. Like, if I'm honest with myself, I don't even know if I want to believe what I feel like I'm truly believing. And so I was thinking about that. So there's belief. And I think you either believe something or you don't. And so I think a thought experiment is sometimes think, what are some things you believe, and do you truly believe them, or do you just need to believe them? Like, I need that to be true. And so then for me, I went beyond belief. Like, let's just say I believe, like, man, all the evidence is pointing that, man, we're doomed with this AI stuff. It just doesn't look good. Well, then what about hope? Like, how do you live in spite, if you will, of like something you believe that's not good? And so then I started thinking about, here's what I love. Hope, there's some volition there. Like, we have a choice. And yes, hope deferred makes the heart sick. And many of us are hoping for something and maybe it hadn't come through, but we want to continue to hope. But I just started thinking about, you can choose. Now, look, if I believe something, it's easier to hope in it. That's kind of the easy part. But what if you believe that maybe circumstances aren't great, but I'm going to choose to find meaning, and I'm going to choose to find purpose, and I'm going to hope that living, and not according to a false belief, but living in a way that is the best I can do under these circumstances, I'm still going to be hopeful. And so I may have lost everybody. You may think, man, that makes no sense at all. But if you just think about the difference between believing whether something's great or not that great, can I still have hope? And what I'm seeing is you choose hope. Just like we've said many times, I point out, you choose joy, even though not everything in your life makes you want to just stand up and cheer and go rah rah, sis boom bah. You know, but choosing a hopeful life. And I would submit, man, this is what carrying your cross uphill like truly looks like. You know, daily take up your cross. We're all burdened. So what are you going to do? Are you just going to lay down and fold? Or are you going to pick up your cross and carry it? And I'm going to have hope.
Yeah.
And so that has been helpful for me, because I can get caught in the apocalypse, the apocalyptic mindset. But I think I'm going to be, by nature, I'm optimistic. You know, that glass is half full, very positive thinker and all that. But then I started feeling like, man, Brian, it's like I almost want to blow the whistle and convince people that maybe things aren't as good as we think. And I'm going to be the one to uncover the thing. It's like, but if you're not careful, then you become cynical about things. You can be negative and just like, what are you doing? Trying to talk me into depression? And I remember when I first heard Peter Rollins talking about, he goes, no, I'm not trying to make you depressed. I'm trying to just show you you're already depressed and you just don't know it, or you don't want to admit it. And so for me, it's like, this is making sense. I can believe something that's maybe less than great news, but I have hope. And so where does that hope come from? And then can you have hope if you believe something to the contrary? Like, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does make sense. And I think you nailed it just now when you said that you've learned, but you're still learning how to carry both of those, how to know, there's some not great things on the horizon. So you're holding that, but you really can't live in that place unless you just really want to live in a dark hole. And that's just what you do is you read and study and listen to everything about that and don't ever really come up for air. I remember you telling the kids when, like, it was during 2020 when, man, it did look like everything was going to hell in a handbasket, and it just was just horrible.
Which it did for several years.
Yeah. Like it was just yucky. And, I think the kids could kind of get wrapped up in like the news, and, it was bad.
Right.
Everything you read coming down the pike, and the stories. And, but I remember you saying, yes, that is all happening. That's, there's a lot of that is going on, but just go in your front yard. Like just walk outside and, just look up at the sky and put your feet in the grass and
pay attention to your own neighbors.
Yeah. Be with your family, be with your neighbors. And it really is a perspective shift. Like you truly what you focus on grows. And so if you want to continue to just live a life focused on, that, things are negative, our world is horrible, financially, everything just stinks, just politically, blah, blah, blah. Like we can all agree, like there's so much truth to all of that, but we have to get to a place where we're focusing on something there is so much good in our lives, but you do get to choose what you focus on. So it's not that, because I would tend to, I'm more of like a put my head in the sand kind of person, and you've helped me with that. So I'm aware of things in our world that aren't great, but there have been many times I think in our marriage and in our lives that I think, well, I need to, like, I do want to know that there's stuff, going on, but I also really kind of don't want to know too much of it, because if I go down and if you go down, who's going to lead our family?
Right.
Who's going to help our community? Who's going to, like someone's got to be the, city on the hill. Someone's got to be the light and the salt. And so I think if you go too far down into just everything is just death and doom and, yuck, then you've lost your saltiness. You've lost that light. And so I just think like kind of being careful what you listen to, being careful what you watch, what you allow in, because I know for me, it really can start to control. I can start going to a deep, dark place. And so I really think when you watch what you pay attention to, and then focus on, man, there's so much good in our lives, so many things it goes back to gratitude, which we've talked a ton about in this podcast, because I think that's where you and I do find the most, that is where we experience our joy, and where we find depth is when we can really focus on, man, there's so much good in our lives, so much good in the world, but we have to choose what we focus on.
Yeah. And I think, so much, if the bedrock of like your worldview comes from your faith, and I mean your faith in God, like God's in control. And so that's where you're going to have hope. But then you see, like, you believe in the sovereignty of God, but then you see, wow, but there's free will. And if men are screwing it up, and I mean mankind, well, then that kind of seems at odds with God's sovereignty. He gave us, and then some people would say, well, that's like, giving men free will, that's kind of irresponsible. God, it's like putting putting a razor blade in the hands of a 2-year-old. And so we, I guess it's easy to be cynical or to feel foolish and about having hope in a world where it's like, man, all the evidence is pointing, and you don't want to feel duped or like a fool. And so do I want to have hope? And I just think we struggle with that. And so then the question is, how do you act in the world? So if you believe something, and because we know in a relationship, man, in your marriage, your beliefs about your spouse, the story you're telling yourself, the narrative that you're basically ruminating on every single day, it's going to affect your behavior. Your beliefs drive everything in your relationship. And so can you believe that, and not, oh, my spouse is great, and you can't fool yourself deep down, right? It's like, but in the belief that, man, my spouse is a knucklehead right now, or they're not trying, or they just don't feel like I just don't feel like they're living their best life. Or the world's truly out of control, man, and it's not getting any better. Do you just give up? And I think, and you said gratitude. So if you live in fear that, man, we're cooked, then, and you start acting that way, it's easy to start thinking about all the things in your life, in the areas in your marriage, your relationship with your kids and parenting, whatever. Man, we're cooked. And it's easy just to wave the white flag and give up. And we're watching that. We're watching anxiety and depression at record rates. And so I guess my question would be, is then having hope, is that a false hope? And again, hope deferred makes the heart sick. Great proverb, right? And so how do you live a hopeful life? And I think you said gratitude, and we've mentioned it so many times on this podcast. When you start to think about the things you're grateful for, and it doesn't mean you're burying your head in the sand. It doesn't mean that you're just, ignorance is bliss. I think you just have to say, I'm going to choose to be grateful for the things in my life that I'm truly appreciative of. I mean, in my spouse, in my marriage, with my health, with my kids, and thank God for those every single day. Thank Him and just say, man, thank you, God, and live with gratitude around those things. And then how are you going to show up? Regardless of kind of what you believe because of what you've read or what you've seen, what you've heard, and even maybe how your spouse is showing up. Like, I'm going to show up with gratitude. And can that be effective? Can that be contagious? Can that rub off on someone? And can that affect your little space?
I think something that we've talked about, several times on this podcast even, I can see that the older that you and I get, we realize we have a choice. But to be able to live with the priorities that we want to live with. We want to live with a heart of gratitude. We want our mind to be set on something different than maybe a lot of people in the world's minds are set on. We don't want to live in, a life of fear and anxiety. Okay, we've got to treat this like a full-time job to keep our minds in a good place,
right?
To put ourselves in a position for God to be able to transform our minds and our hearts through Christ Jesus. And so you and I talk about it a lot, the different things that we have employed, that we put into practice every single day. It's that those are choices that we make about how we spend our time, for our thoughts and our minds to be like, take hold of those thoughts and to transform those thoughts. So we've talked about that. Another thing that I've worked a lot with women through Evergreen. And so the whole meaning behind Evergreen is the Jeremiah 17 scripture that talks about like the difference in the two trees. So like one tree that trusts in man, and he's like a tumbleweed in Lubbock, blowing across the hot, gross land, or the beautiful tree that's planted down by the water, and its roots go down deep by the stream and drink deeply. And it never fears in a year of drought. It's always bearing fruit. So my mind is focused so much on that tree. And so what does that look like when it says the person who trusts in God is that tree? Okay, well, what does that mean, God, for me to trust in you, to put my hope in you? Like, I don't know. Can I really feel you? Can I touch you? Are you here with me? Like, what are ways that I access his spirit? How am I in tune with that spirit that lives in me and in you? How do we have access to that day in and day out? Because that's what changes everything. And so it's really just waking up and deciding I can choose. And I have those two trees in my mind, like that one that's just dead and gross and bleh, and then the other one that's just alive and full of fruit. Now, that's not me saying we're never going to struggle. I mean, shoot, if you think I'm saying that, really go read that thing I wrote on grief a couple of days ago. That shows you, like, my crazy brain that can be all over the place, that feels very deeply and very, heavily. So I definitely can feel and do feel all that stuff. But at some point, you let that process through you, and all it does is just dig that deeper well that you can experience true joy and true peace, all the gifts of all the fruits of the Holy Spirit. So anyway, that's I think just pointing to the fact that you and I are not above anything, that we can go down with the best of them, that we're not just Pollyanna, just Cheerio all the time, that we truly, truly every day wake up and say, man, I want to make that choice. I want to be light. I want to be full of joy, full of peace. And so all the things that we do, that we build in, during our day to experience that, to have access to that. I think,
and I realize as I just typed a prompt in as we're sitting here to chat. And so I realize that even what we're saying, most of the time, you and I, most of us, we're distracted. Mm-hmm. We're just going about our business. Man, I don't have time to think about that. I got to get them go. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're parenting small kids, I just think about Chan and Ryan's, Rue's first day of kindergarten, and then they take her off, and then they've got 2-3-year-old twins at home, and they've got, lunches to pack, backpacks, things to sign, and, meals to make and naps to be had and money to be made. They got jobs. And so, and many of us don't think deeply, but it's funny. I just did a quick prompt and he said, that's a profound question. I say he, and philosophers, psychologists, and theologians have answered it differently for centuries. But listen to the distinction. It says some beliefs don't feel chosen. Okay. So that's many people experience their deepest convictions as something they discover rather than decide. So be careful when we're trying to say, well, why don't you just believe it? Why don't you just believe it? Again, trying to, if you will, proselytize or, and again, don't just think religious context. I know that's what that evokes. Excuse me. But trying to convince something to believe something. Maybe we need them to because it makes us feel better about our deeply held questions about that or doubts about that. But it says you can choose what evidence to examine, what question to ask, and whether to be intellectually honest. But after that, belief often feels like the conclusion that your mind reaches. You generally can't will yourself to sincerely believe something you think is false. So just put that in marriage or about your spouse or about yourself. But he says hope is partially different. Hope can arise naturally from those beliefs. Yeah, if you deeply believe things will ultimately work out, hope comes more easily. If you sincerely believe the future is bleak, hope is harder to sustain, right? But hope is more than a prediction about the future. And here's what I love. Psychologists often define hope not as believing everything will be okay, but as continuing to pursue meaningful goals despite uncertainty. That's the taking your cross uphill. Like, I'm going to carry this. And listen to this. In that sense, he says hope has a volitional component. You can choose to act hopefully even when you don't feel hopeful. Okay, and some people say, why? Oh, bless their heart. Does that make you seem like a fool? Does that make you seem like an idiot?
I mean, probably, yeah.
Viktor Frankl, who survived, this is so cool, brought this up. Viktor Frankl, who survived Nazi concentration camps, wrote extensively about people finding meaning and choosing their response, even in circumstances that offered almost no reason for optimism. Like, you want to live that life or the one who just says, I'm done. We're cooked. I give up.
Because you really are tempted to say, man, of course y'all can say that. Like, look at your marriage. Well, can we go back if we could just play like a rewind reel, whatever that's called, where you go back and watch things from the past, things that we've been through in our marriage, the loss of our 2-year-old son, the loss of, our parents and, just different, like, I just think back to so many times that we have struggled greatly. There was always still that little bit of hope in there. Like, yeah, this is horrible. This is about as bad as it gets. But man, I feel like we're not always going to be in this place.
Yeah.
So you do tend to think, oh, well, sure, some people, you can say that, it must be nice. But some people listening to this podcast may not know some of our story, and it isn't all roses and rainbows, So that's interesting about Viktor Frankl.
Yeah.
I'd like to read some of his
stuff. It's like once you, and some people, you may just think, I believe because I choose to believe. But what I would submit is once you finally discover and are honest with yourself about what you truly believe about anything, anyone, any relationship, there's something that happens after belief. Now, how are you going to live? Now that you've settled on you're agreeing with what your mind has agreed with as far as what you truly believe. He says, imagine two people who both believe there's only a 10% chance of success in whatever you fill in the blank. One gives up because 10% seems futile. The other says 10% is enough to justify trying. Their beliefs about the facts are identical. Their response is different.
Yes.
And I just think,
that's good.
Just finding hope and then acting as if there is a reason to hope.
Yeah.
And pursuing meaning, pursuing your highest values, regardless of how hopeful or bleak something may look or may seem. And then what does that look like? And how would it look if you acted in hope? And I think, again, gratitude has to be a key part of that. And we've challenged people, just try it. Wake up in the morning, make your gratitude list, and then repeat it, say it out loud, make that part of your mindfulness, paying attention. You were saying, I love what you said earlier, something about, I saw a post you did about when your vision board becomes part of your
camera roll.
Camera roll.
Yeah, that's really good.
There's our friend. That cardinal always pops
little
up
cardinal.
there.
Wow, one thing, and I know we're kind of winding down, but one thing about marriage I thought of, so a couple of days ago, you and I kind of got in a, not really an argument, but we just were a little bit sideways on
Which
something.
time?
This was, which time? This was on Sunday. And so we just, I got perturbed and my feelings were hurt. And so I kind of like, said a comment, and you were like, hey, are you kind of upset? And sometimes I would have said, no, I'm good.
You said a comment that I had made, and then you made it back to me in a different context, which made me know it was snarky and kind of sarcastic. Yeah. And I went, whoa. And I knew you were upset. I could see your body language. And I knew it's like, bottom line is I had been selfish. I had chosen to be selfish, but I had so rationalized it.
Yeah.
I was making excuses for why this selfishness was,
like why it was okay for you.
It was okay. Yeah.
Well,
and then at the end of the day, I just had to say, man, you know what? Regardless, it was selfish. Mm-hmm. Yeah. My self-interest. Yeah.
I was just going to say about that. Like I sat with it for a little bit, and I noticed like, okay, I could go down two roads here. So if you picture the trees, like the dead tree that trusts in man and starts telling the story to themselves, or the one who trusts in the Lord and just tries to choose the higher road and higher thoughts. And so as I sat with it, I thought I could say in this moment, man, that's just wrong. I feel like Brian always has to have his way. I feel like, it's always, I'm the one, I'm just made to feel like it's my fault, or, whatever. Mm-hmm. I could like this just isn't right. This isn't fair. And why does blah, 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 blah. Like I could have gone down that road, and I could have just nursed that and just been working on a really good mad and just started to create this bigger story of, like just the version of that. Or I could have stopped in that moment and taken those thoughts captive and thought, nope, I am not going down that road where that tree's going. I'm going to choose the road that says, you know what? I believe Brian wants the best for me and for us. I believe that Brian loves me. I believe that he's feeling some kind of pressure in some way, and this is how it comes out. It's not, I want to remove like the emotion or how personal I could be taking this. And I just want to say, I want to believe the best in him and believe that this was just, he was struggling in that moment or whatever. And that doesn't mean that I'm not going to stand up and I'm not going to use my voice and I'm not going to tell you when something's not okay. That's not at all what I'm saying, because I did actually do that. We sat down and I felt like in a very strong way, I told you how it was making me feel.
Oh, it was a strong way. All right.
So girls, listen to this. Don't think that I'm like, just shove it down and let him always.
You actually have learned not to bury it, because that was what was hurting you, hurting us, making you,
But I think in that moment that helped to capture those thoughts. I mean, I could have very well gone down that other path where I created some big version of the story that you always blah, 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 and you never blah, 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 blah. And in some way, okay, people maybe could have agreed with me and go, yeah, that's probably kind of true. But why would I want to go down that road? Like if I can have just that thought of I have a choice. There's a fork in the road here. Mm-hmm. I'm going to choose this higher road and believe that you want the best for us and not go down that rabbit trail. It just, if you can divorce, goes better for me and for you.
If you can divorce the story you tell yourselves during a strong emotion. Yeah, I've heard somebody talk about, in the context of free will, if you can think about when you get angry, you've got a narrative going on. Somebody cuts you off in traffic. You've got this story you're telling yourself. And if you can take the emotion of anger and the way what you're truly feeling in your body and detach it from the story, and literally you're not telling yourself any story. You just pay attention to how you feel. Within 30 seconds, you could be laughing, almost feeling like, how ridiculous. Like, what is this? And so you told yourself a different story. You said something, that benevolence you were giving me in that, what were the statements you made about me that was benevolent?
Just, I believe that you believe the best in me, that you want the best for our relationship, that, you were probably just struggling with you had your own battle going on inside of you. And that's how it came out towards me.
And so many times, so John Gottman, Gottman, we've mentioned him several times, and people ask for the resources we mentioned. One of his books is The Relationship Cure, where I first heard him mention positive sentiment override.
That's good.
And the other one is The 7 Principles for Making Your Marriage Work. He mentions it again, the positive sentiment override, which basically covers over a multitude of sins in your marriage. When you have a positive sentiment override, your spouse does not mean you harm. Like, I believe the best about them. You give this kind of goodwill. So there was this benevolent attitude towards me. And that changed. The other thing you said that changed you, I was going to finish that sentence, is if like Brian has his own stuff going on, that was about him. You said something, don't take it personal. I've always said, if Brian's missing the mark, the Greek term for sin is an archery term it means to miss the mark. You've heard us say that. You may know that. So if Brian's missing the mark, can you depersonalize his sin? And no, that's about him. It doesn't. So most first going, what does that mean for me? What does that say about me? What does that, mean for my experience? We personalize it and we get hurt and we get resentful. But if you can depersonalize it and say, that's about Brian, and you went a step further and said, man, he's got stuff going on. So if he's missing the mark, like, how can I pray for him? How can I help him? How can I not personalize this so that this means nothing about my identity right now? That is next level consciousness stuff. I mean, I think that's where a relationship can truly, truly grow. So, and it's so tricky. I know it's a fine line. Well, what you do, your sin affects me. Yeah, the sin of a husband can affect a wife. The sin of a father can affect his kids and his entire family. The sins of the mother, right, can affect the family. But when you don't see it as a personal attack or a personal affront, and yes, it affects you, but can you say, the same is true for me. God is my author and the definer of my faith and who I am and my identity. And so when this person's acting the fool, can I stay in my identity? I mean, that is literally the trick to every relationship. And I think in every interaction when you have with other human beings, can you stay in the evolved place that you are, knowing that you're still, nothing's changed in your world. You just got new information based on what your spouse just did to show up, or or the latest revelation, or the latest confession, or the latest bad behavior, whatever. But can you stay in the place where you're not just wrecked? Because, wreck people, right? And so that's, man, it's hard.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you giving me that benevolence. And when you then confronted me with it, instead of accusation, interrogation, instead of like finger in my because of, if you were personalizing it, it'd be all about how bad I hurt you. And you really, I don't want to forgive you because you hurt me. I want you to pay. I want you to feel. We're watching Cape Fear. That guy, old Max, Katie wanted everyone to feel what it was like to be, to feel the pain he had felt. And that's what we do.
Yeah.
And so you were able to give me the time and the space to say, hey, you're malfunctioning and you were missing the mark, and here's how it affected me. But I think your demeanor got me to a place a lot quicker of confession and said, dang it, man, you're right. I was selfish. I was being selfish. And that may not have come had you put me on the defensive
Yeah.
Because then, hey, I want to defend and excuse and rationalize and all the things we do. Whew.
Good stuff today.
Yeah. You think?
Yeah.
Well, we're back, folks. Get ready.
Missed it.
Yeah, there was something else I wanted to dive into, but you know what? I'm looking. We're 50 minutes. So y'all got a little longer episode today, but there's some stuff that I'm seeing in a lot of the marriages that we're seeing right now, kind of a common theme that we're going to touch on next time.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
And one thing we started with, but we'll have to hold this for next time, but you were asking if it's been a while since we've done the podcast, but we said it was kind of like riding a bicycle.
Oh, no. Okay, so the music, you think I'm going to cue the music? You're laughing and I'm going to laugh. But that's Smartless that does the buys. We have a different sign off. Oh,
what is it? I forgot.
Okay, but it was later. Remember that? Later.
Shoot.
But we're gonna get a new one for this new season.
My goodness.
So yeah, thanks for getting the buy. That was my reaction was like Will Arnett to Sean Hayes. He's bye.
But it's just been so long since we've done it. I forgot.
If you don't know Smartless, they always come up with some stupid word to say bye.
To say bye. My goodness. That's so funny.
So and we've done bye, we've done later.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll think of another one.
No. Let's think of another one right now, and then we'll do it. What's going to be the catchphrase to sign off? It'll be what? Until next time, or we're out of time. There's something with the word time.
See ya.
See ya?
It could be see ya.
Okay, see ya.
Okay.
Let's do that. What's that artist that never shows her face? Mm-hmm. Isn't her name? Is that too easy?
Yeah, that's too easy. But let's just use it for this time. That's fine. Her name is
See ya.